From WXII 12 News, this is breaking news.
That breaking news coming out of downtown Raleigh. Dozens of demonstrators have torn down two Confederate statues from a Confederate monument at the state capitol. They threw ropes around the heads of those statues. After they were torn down, one was hoisted up onto a street light, appearing to look like it was being hanged. Protesters drug the second statue down the street with a rope. You can see it there, right there on your screen. Our affiliate WRAL reporting clashes with police earlier this evening, with at least one person being arrested. These developments coming on Juneteenth, the holiday celebrating the end of slavery in the United States. Fun Juneteenth celebrations taking place across the Triad today. In High Point, an event held at the Old Brentwood Elementary School. Community for Social Justice at High Point hosted this one. Folks enjoyed food trucks, live music, and giveaways. Organizers also set up an area for people to register to vote.
As African Americans, it's the oldest holiday that we celebrate, and this is our Independence Day, this is our Freedom Day, this is our Jubilee.
Turning to Winston-Salem now, Black-owned businesses in Winston-Salem are hosting a shopping event this weekend. It's called Black Business Matters, and business owners will be set up in the parking lot of the Epic Event Essentials and Florals on Brownsboro Road.
It's not just for African Americans, it's for everyone, but it's also to showcase that we do have viable businesses in our community that may sometimes get overlooked. And now this is a way for us to say, hey, we're here. Juneteenth just emphasized that for us.
Black Business Matters is from 9 o'clock in the morning until 2 o'clock in the afternoon, Saturday and on Sunday. Social distancing measures will be put in place. Tonight's Juneteenth celebration in Greensboro wrapped up about an hour ago now. This was Douglas Park earlier today. Separate groups of organizers came together to put this together. They say they wanted to celebrate Black culture and pride and give the community a place to feel united, empowered, and inspired to bring about change. The Mount Calvary Holy Church of Winston-Salem celebrating Juneteenth with a prayer walk. The group walked 0.61 miles around the community for June 19th. There was also a shoe giveaway.
Feet are some of the most vulnerable parts of our bodies, and we want to cover the vulnerable part of our body as a symbolic act of covering the vulnerable parts of our communities. We're touching and reaching folks in our homeless community, ex-offenders, people who are below the poverty line, people who need some encouragement and strength. And so we want to say we're going to come and try to prepare your feet with peace today.
And to do that, the church partnered with Fleet Feet and New Balance stores to give away about 200 pairs of shoes to people in the community. Turning to the latest on the coronavirus in North Carolina, COVID-19 is hospitalizing more people. Close to 50,000 North Carolinians have tested positive for COVID-19 since March. That's an additional 1,600 people since yesterday. More people are being tested, but the percentage of positive tests that remains high. It's sitting at about 9% right now. The state wants that number to be closer to 5%. Hospitalizations hit an all-time high again today for the fourth day in a row. 871 people are being treated for COVID-like symptoms. 91% of hospitals are reporting data. Masks are now mandatory in the capital city of Raleigh. Under this order, people must wear face coverings at the grocery store, pharmacies, on the sidewalk, pretty much anywhere that you'll be around people who are not your immediate family. Masks are also required in Durham and Orange counties. And effective tomorrow, Boone implementing its own mandatory face mask ordinance. Photojournalist Chris Peterson takes us to town to hear what some business owners are saying about this new mandate.
Business owners in Boone have mixed feelings about wearing masks, but the overwhelming concern is how to enforce the new ordinance.
If we have to have them, everybody should have to have them.
Bill Parrish owns Highway Robbery, a clothing and gift shop in downtown Boone. He says that wearing masks indoors should be statewide.
If it helps curb the whole thing, then I'm in favor of it. But I also think that everybody should have to do it in the state if we want to end this.
The concern for Parrish and other business owners is how to handle someone who comes into their stores without a mask. Businesses are already hurting from being closed for 2 months. Parrish says turning customers away and possibly angering them if they aren't wearing a mask would be hard to do.
It's going to be hard, but I guess as a business owner, we just have to eat it. I don't know what else to say.
Local health officials are trying to help by starting the Show Your Love campaign. It's an effort to educate and show folks the importance of mask wearing in a positive way, saying it's less about control and more about helping your neighbor. With tourism such a huge part of the local economy, Parrish hopes the new mandate won't do any more damage to his business.
I would feel certain if a lot of the other store owners and stuff feel that we've all been losing 20 or 30% because of this, then yes, we should probably do something to try to stop it.
Now, there will be a 3-week grace period to give residents and tourists time to adjust to the new ordinance, but after that, you could be fined up to $1,000. In Boone, I'm Chris Peterson, WXII 12 News.
So Boone police tell us if someone is not wearing a mask, the first step is going to be education and a written warning. Then they can press to level 2 misdemeanor charges, and that does include that $1,000 fine if convicted. Governor Roy Cooper is pushing for everyone in the state to be wearing a mask in public. He said yesterday it's a critical component to slowing the spread of COVID-19 without hurting the economy. The governor says he will decide early next week whether masks will be required in public places all around the state. He's also expected to speak to plans for North Carolina's next step in reopening. Governor Roy Cooper has vetoed a bill that would have let gyms, fitness centers, and bars reopen. GOP supporters say this was a lifeline for many business owners who've been shut down now for months. The governor says the bill would tie the hands of public health officials, which he says is dangerous during a pandemic. Gyms and bars could be allowed to reopen in phase 3, which could start as early as next Friday. And it will be another weekend without racing at a speedway in Alamance County. A judge recently issued a temporary restraining order against the speedway. And for the first time, a judge heard from witnesses. WXII 12's Justin Schreier takes us to court.
And after hearing from several witnesses, the judge did not rule today, extending that temporary restraining order to next Wednesday. We heard from a lot of witnesses today, which included the Alamance County Sheriff, a major with the Sheriff's Office, the Public Health Director for the county, and Jason and Robert Turner, who run the races at the Speedway. During the hours-long hearing, the state continued to make its point, calling A Speedway an immediate threat if it continues to violate Governor Roy Cooper's executive order. Special Counsel Andrew Casper showed various photos taken from different media outlets showing a large amount of people in the stands at the Speedway during races held in recent weeks.
Alamance County continues to be one of the counties in the state with the fastest growth rate in COVID-19 diagnoses. It has been identified by the White House Coronavirus Task Force as one of the country's most troubling hotspots.
Jason and Robert Turner also testified. Jason spoke about the safety precautions that were already in place at the track, and he says only one family complained about not being able to social distance, so he gave them a refund. He says live streaming the races, as it was suggested, would not allow him to continue to make a profit, and that he needs about 1,000 people to at least break even. Robert Turner also testified, saying he met with some county and state officials, and at the end of that meeting, he thought he was able to operate the track again. The Turner's lawyer says not allowing the track to open back up would be devastating.
It is the life or death of their business. I mean, their business cannot survive if it can't operate. And that's what we're talking about. Where's the line? Can the governor simply decide that you will no longer have a business? You will no longer be able to make a living?
And we are expecting the judge to issue his ruling sometime on Wednesday before 5 p.m. In Alamance County, Justin Schreier, WXII 12 News.
One of the 3 Louisville, Kentucky officers involved in the deadly shooting of Breonna Taylor will be fired. Taylor was killed by police on March 13th after 3 plainclothes officers used a no-knock warrant to enter her apartment for a drug investigation. That raid happening about 1 o'clock in the morning. Taylor's boyfriend thought it was a home invasion, grabbed a gun, and shot one of the officers in the leg. Police returned fire, hitting Taylor 8 times. Her boyfriend was initially charged, but those charges have since been dropped. The family has filed a wrongful death lawsuit against the officers involved. Happening now, a search for 3 people wanted in connection to an armed robbery and shooting in Stoneville. Rockingham County deputies say Jamar Crenshaw is one of those men. They say he also goes by the name Mars and should be considered armed and dangerous. That robbery happening about 11 a.m. on Misty Court. Deputies are also looking for a suspect who has not been identified. They shared this picture of him Police say that the group took cash and an AR-15 rifle. The victim was airlifted to the Triad with life-threatening injuries. Call 911 if you have any information.